Hey, what's going on? I am Matt O'Leary, going to be hanging out with you for the next hour. Yes, I was 2 minutes late. Yes, I've been hanging out with Ryan far too often. That is my bad. That is my fault. I was a little bit delayed, and that's on me. Thank you guys for sticking with me and for putting up with my BS as I was a little bit behind. My Islanders were playing today. They won 4-3 over the Devils, suck at New Jersey. So I was watching that, and then I had to do my post-game stuff for Eyes on Isles, and now I'm here. So we are going to talk about, well, NFL draft questions. We're going to talk about, should the Jets trade for DK Metcalf? Maybe A.J. Brown's in the mix. There's a ton that the New York Jets can do in the weeks leading up to the draft, which it's April now. So that's all my focus is on. I cannot wait for this draft. And with 4 picks in the top 40, obviously – you're going to have, well, potentially a lot of change with this roster. With 4 top 40 picks, you're either hoping for 4 impact starters or trading some picks for a high-end impact player, an individual like DK Metcalf or AJ Brown or someone like that. So there's, again, multiple ways the Jets could do that. So let's hop into the questions. You can send in any, we should probably do the, send this banner thing across. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. So you can subscribe to the Patreon as well for bonus Jets content. Follow and send in super chats if you want them jumped up to the top to be answered. Otherwise, I will be going through the comments and the questions for the next probably about hour or so, and then I'm recording just Jets. We have a ton of questions on there too. Jet fans are crazy, man. This time of year, they want all kinds of stuff answered. And listen, I get it. It's the draft is an exciting time. So let's hop right into it. First one, when is Jason Morrow getting his gold jacket? Coming in hot, Vinster. I love it. Oh my God. Jason Morrow. I thought he was going to be good after his rookie year. That was a round 2 pick that I did think was going to pan out. So that's on me. Zach says Jets YouTube should just start a 24/7 channel that's always streaming live, and they take turns during the day and evening and do reruns during off hours. That would be phenomenal. I wish I had the capacity to do that. Could you imagine if we just did like a 24-hour live and then like you said, kind of just had people check in and out and do reruns of stuff? That'd be sick. I'm in. I like the idea. I don't know the logistics of pulling it off, but yeah. Nick Russo says, a year is too long. I am in draft withdrawal. I am getting the shakes. Yeah, can they do a draft like every 6 months? No, but seriously, I can't wait. It's a very exciting time of year. The Jets had 2 first-rounders last year. They have 2 first-rounders again this year. And plus, they have 2 second-rounders, which are important. And look, last year was all about, you pretty much knew they were going to take a quarterback. It was, which one are they going to take? Is it Justin Fields? Is it Zach Wilson? And that was a fun debate, or even should they keep Sam Darnold, which was less of a fun debate. And then after that, it was just exciting stuff, man. I can't wait. Is Kyle Hamilton at 10 really bad thing? Seems like people don't want him at 10. I don't, because I think that you can get pretty good value on a safety at 35, whether it's Daxton Hill, Lewis Seen, Petrie or someone like that. I would prefer to go like, I don't know. If you're going to go any secondary player in the top 10, I would hope they would be Sauce Gardner. I would prefer edge and wide receiver in the first round. But I personally, it's better to take him at 10 than 4. I agree there, if that's a point that you're trying to make. But I just prefer the safety value at the top of the second round, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna lean off of that. Do you think we end up getting DK or Brown? I think it's probably slim, but of the two, DK seems much more realistic. Although the cryptic tweets from AJ Brown are really something. I almost hope selfishly that something is up there so that the Jets could capitalize. But a DK, at least they could be, you could sell that Seattle's trying to rebuild and get some picks. So I feel like that's a little bit more palatable there. Why do you think George Karlaftis is falling in so many mocks? What has changed from now versus 2 months ago? If we don't go edge F4, he would be a great get at 10. I don't disagree. This happens all the time with mock drafts, though. And I don't see a good reason for it. You have people who think that Tyler Linderbaum is going to fall. He was someone who could potentially be a top 10 pick to the Jets for a while, then to the Giants he was mocked, but there's an outside chance he doesn't go in the first round, which I think would be a mistake. Karlaftis falling past the Eagles, I think would be a mistake. And then you have like late risers like Trayvon Walker, who I think him being considered edge 3 by some people is, to me, crazy. I don't think he's anything. He's probably edge 5, I guess. And if he's technically an edge, I don't know. He's a tweener. He's not really my taste, but it just happens at this point. And like people are always going to question how bendy George Karlaftis is, and I get that, but the production that he had this past year is exciting to me. And I think he's someone who is a high floor player. Maybe his ceiling isn't as high as a Aiden Hutchinson or a Kayvon Thibodeau, or maybe even Jermaine Johnson, but I just think from an all-around player, I think he's going to come in and be steady right away. So, which kind of just goes into this. Anyway, you take Walker over Thibs? Absolutely not. I don't think Trayvon Walker reminds me of John Franklin Myers, where is he an edge or is he on the interior? And I think in John Franklin Myers' case, he's better on the interior. But I don't know. I don't think he's a fit as a 4-3 defensive end. So I think that would be kind of wasteful. Between Sauce or KT at 4, I would go KT because I value the edge and I value getting after the passer more than I value the secondary. Sauce is by far the best cornerback in this class. But I think for not only this Jets team, but just in general, my philosophy on defense is to get after the quarterback, and you kind of worry about the secondary later. And I think they desperately need an edge across from Carl Lawson. So we have our first super chat. We're going to get to Albert. Thank you so much for the super chat. Do you think the pursuit of wide receiver in trades shows JD doesn't believe in wide receiver draft class? That's an interesting way of thinking about it. I would lean towards no. I think that if it did come down to it, they would be willing to take a wide receiver early in this draft class. To me, it's kind of more so that they would want I guess, sure thing, or someone who could come in and be productive right from the jump street. And that just willing to take that risk. Like Tyreek Hill is a top 5 playmaker in football. AJ Brown's already a top tier wide receiver, and DK Metcalf is a young ascending player. So I think it'd have to be for the right kind of fit. And even like supposedly there was interest on Calvin Ridley, which again, that makes sense based on age and the production we saw, before everything went down with the gambling. But I don't necessarily look at it that way. I just think it's, you have all these assets, at your disposal. You could pick off some really good players for maybe lesser value and then still spend, your 2 first-round picks on other positions. Like maybe then you go Sauce Gardner at 4 and an edge at 10 if you decide to trade for a wide receiver with pick 35, let's say. So I think there's many ways that they can go about building out the roster. So I don't necessarily think that it means that they are for sure out on this wide receiver class. I just think it's, they have these assets, they have these cap space. So it's just one avenue that they could, pursue to build up this team. I like this spin zone from John Watts. Any chance this KT slander is coming from the Jets camp to ensure he gets to 4? I don't know. If he's there, I would take him. I believe in him. It's I think it's something that this defense desperately needs. And I think he was going to be the number 1 guy off the board for months and months and months. I don't think that should change just over the past month or so. Vin says, look what Hopkins did for Kyler and Diggs for Josh Allen. An established wide receiver 1 could turn Wilson into an elite quarterback almost immediately. It's possible. I mean, we've seen these teams get aggressive with their young quarterbacks and trade for high-end receivers. That's 2 examples there. The Dolphins trading for Tyreek Hill and hopes of saving Tua is another one. But there's multiple examples. And it doesn't always work, but I like the thought process and I like the aggressive play by, I think he realizes here, he put his eggs into the Zach Wilson basket. And I think it was a wise move to move on from Sam Darnold and invest in a young quarterback last year. But now you got to start winning some games here. You can't have, this rebuild go on forever. So you got to get your roster more competitive. So I agree with Vin here. What about day 2? Who would you like to get as a sneaky pick? Or is this just in general or for wide receiver? If we're on the topic of wide receiver. So while I would not prefer this route, but if you want to gamble on George Pickens at 35, I get it. It scares me because of the injury, but I get it. So I guess that would be my sneaky day 2 pick. That could be like a star at the wide receiver position. Roberto says, hold the sauce. No, thank you. Our secondary needs have been addressed. We need KTF4. Matt, do you think we might double dip on edge? Not early. I think like double dip in the first 2 rounds, I would say no. Or at the first 2 picks, I would say no. I would think that you'd be more than likely go edge at the top. And then you still need, assuming you don't trade for a wide receiver, you still need wide receiver, linebacker, safety, potential interior offensive line depth, or just tackle depth maybe in general. Beyond that, you still need a day 3 running back in the mix. So maybe with like a later pick, you can go back to it, but I would be very surprised if they spent any of their top 40 picks on the same position twice. Like if you drafted 2 wide receivers, 2 edges, 2 corners, anything like that, 2 offensive linemen, at this point, I'd be very, very surprised with the needs that they still have. Matt, how do you feel about Chad Muma? I like him. I like his game a lot. I think the Jets should look to target a linebacker in the 2nd round, and I think he would fit that bill. Linebacker to me is still a big need. I know how much they love Quincy Williams, and Quincy Williams is an easy guy to root for, but he is a liability in pass coverage. He also tends to over pursuit at times, and he hits hard, which obviously you like. And he plays with a ton of speed. He's an easy guy to root for, but I think he's better suited as a rotational player rather than a starter next to CJ Mosley. Do you think Wilson will be better than Sam Darnold was for us? I certainly hope so. That's obviously that's got to be the hope, but it seems like at least you can say the infrastructure is better with Zach Wilson than it was with Sam Darnold because of who the general manager and the coach is, number 1. And number 2, skill position wise, Sam Darnold never had anything like this to work with. Now, Sam also massively took a step back and continually got hurt, which didn't help his cause. But at least with Zach, we saw a tangible improvement after the injury in the second half of the year, and you just hope you build off of that. But we'll see, obviously, in the coming weeks. John really likes Sky Moore. He says Sky Moore would be the steal of the second round. Only thing not in his game is his height. Even that, he has a crazy wingspan for a 5'10 dude. Great selection in round 2, if no wide receiver in the first. Yeah, Sky Moore's another one. Dotson's a borderline first-round receiver who could potentially be there at 35. Watson's a receiver that a lot of people like out of North Dakota State. There's options, but I just prefer some guys at the higher end here of the draft. Nick chimes in, says IDL is a sneaky big need too. I think you need it for depth purposes. I think the earliest I would go interior defensive line is the 3rd round. But yes, I would also probably add that into positions that I would look to address before going back on repeating on one. Do you think not getting a wide receiver 1 caps the grade of an offseason at a B+? In my opinion, I do, due to the receivers that have been moved and Jets nowhere close to getting anyone besides Hill, Cooper, Woods, etc. I think for me, it's dependent on what they do in the draft. And I know that's such a cop-out answer here because it obviously hasn't happened yet, and that's not giving you a definitive answer. But to me, if they come away with Garrett Wilson at pick 10, it's going to be very hard for me to sit here and tell you that they didn't have a plan at wide receiver. So I don't know yet. Right now, it's definitely still a need and very high at the list. Wide receiver and edge are my 2 biggest needs right now for this team, or things that I would like to see improved. So if they don't address that in the draft to the way that I like, then yeah, I probably will stay at a B+. John says, do you see the Eagles trading up to pick 10 and we can get their 2 first-round picks? They actually have 3 first-rounders. So if they really like a player, like maybe let's say Sauce Gardner is there at 10. I think that's even questionable because I think the Giants probably take him at 7 just because Wink Martindale put so much of emphasis on his secondary guys, and James Bradbury more than likely is going to get traded at some point. So I think corner is going to be a need for the Giants, and I think that's probably where they go. But let's say the Eagles really want Sauce Gardner. Maybe that way they could package, whatever it ends up being to get up to 10. I don't know if it would be 2 of the 3 first rounders. I think more than likely it would be like one of them, maybe pick 15 and their second rounder. But it's possible. If they really like a player, they absolutely have the pieces to move up. Shaquan Jenkins says, what do you think we do with Denzel Mims? As someone who really loved Denzel Mims coming out of the draft and liked his potential as a rookie, I think that you should give him training camp. And maybe best case scenario, he's wide receiver 5 on this team. But I don't think you could go into camp expecting anything more than that just because of how bad he was last year. It was scary bad between the penalties, some of the laziness on the route running. I was vocal. I wanted him to get more playing time, but when he did get them more playing time, he did not look very good on the field. I am rooting for him. I hope he proves people wrong and plays well in his 3rd year. But it was a catastrophic failure in 2021 for Denzel Mims. Do you think the Jets will trade back into the late first round? They could. If someone they like is falling, they absolutely could. If you were to package both second-round picks, that could get you up to roughly pick 15. Pick 35 and pick 69, which is their 3rd-round pick, would get you to roughly the early 20s, and then pick 35 and your 4th-round pick, your first 4th-round pick would get you to like pick 30. So there are ways that you can move up in varying packages to get, as high as the top 15, 16-ish, and to pretty much wherever you want. But you could. It depends on the player. Like maybe they really like Nakobe Dean and want to add a linebacker and he's fallen. Or maybe you really want to get Tyler Linderbaum and you move up for him. Okay. And then you move on from Connor McGovern. Okay. Maybe that you do that. But it's certainly possible. If Sauce or Hamilton is available at 10, who are you taking? I'm taking Sauce Gardner because I think, number one, I think corner is more important than the safety position. And number two, value-wise, there's not really a corner that I like at the top of the second round as much as the safeties that I like at the top of the second round. Do we still want McBride if he's available at 38? I would say no, based on addressing two tight ends in free agency. Now, you could add one on day 3, like in the 4th round, like maybe a Jake Ferguson, a Charlie Kolar, someone like that to add to round out this group. But I don't look at tight end as, as big of a need on something that you have to use a top 40 pick on or even a top 70 pick on at this point. And I like McBride and I like Jeremy Ruckert a lot. I think both those guys go in the second round. But I would say no. I think I would prefer the Jets to go linebacker or safety in the second round before at that spot. This is also interesting. You could potentially do that, trading back to get Jameson Williams. I like Jameson Williams. He's my number 1 receiver before he got hurt. I like Garrett Wilson. I also like Treylon Burks a lot. Drake London, I'm a little bit shaky on. I don't. There's some things I really like about his game, but there's also some things that scare me a little bit, and if they're going to be able to translate to the next level. But Jameson Williams, I think, could be a really good receiver right away, and his speed is dynamic and something that I think would be a good fit in this offense. Jesse Smith says Ekwonu at 4. I personally would not do that at this point. Before you sign Laken Tomlinson, I would say yes, because then Ekwonu could play guard. And then either if you move on from Mekhi Becton after this year due to injuries, then he could slide out and play there and you have George Fant and Ekwonu. Or if you let George Fant walk in free agency, then it was Ekwonu and Mekhi. But they seem adamant about giving Mekhi another shot, which I think he deserves. He was a really good rookie for this team, was nearly a Pro Bowl caliber tackle as a rookie. I don't think you give up on that. So I would say at this point, Ekwonu is out of the question for me, even though I really, really like him a lot. Will Smith, the like and subscribe buttons. Yes, agree with Budster70 here. Slap him. Much appreciated. We could do some non-draft questions. I'll mix it up. Non-draft related, but why does Woody insist on wearing a crappy, worn-out white Jets cap? Bob Kraft and Jerry don't wear caps. At least buy a new one. Yeah, I mean, he certainly has the money to do that, right? Yeah, I don't know. Woody Johnson or either his brother Christopher Johnson are not either of my favorite people. What else we got in here? NYJ would have to package number 4 to get 2 picks from the Eagles. Yeah, probably. If it was like 15 and 16 to get 4, then I would say that's probably what it would end up looking like, I think. Which I would probably like if KT is still there, I'm probably there. I guess if like the first 3 picks are Hutchinson, KT, and Sauce, then I'm definitely moving out. And I know some people would say, then you just draft Ekwonu. But I don't think I would do that. Did you watch the KT Pro Day interview? Yes, I did. I did not have any issues with his interview or with any of the interviews that I've watched with him. Sean says, I heard KT could fall out of the top 10. There's been rumblings about that. I wouldn't, but it's possible. What do you think about Kirby Joseph in the third? Intriguing. That's intriguing. I like Kirby Joseph. It's a little bit of a gamble though, because after that, I think there's a drop off in the talent at that position. But I'd be comfortable with him starting. You got to. The thing is, I think you have to find a starting safety in this class, and to me, the top of the second just feels so right for that. With the guys I listed off before, another third rounder to compete with Ashton Davis, I don't know if that's enough or not for me. Jets Gang brings up a good point. Why would we pay cornerback $11 million a year and then take a cornerback in the top 5? Makes no sense unless they really did not trust Bryce Hall. But I don't buy that. I think he was too good last year not to be a starter. We have a super chat from V-Man. Thank you so much, V-Man. Very much appreciated. He says, it amazes me that no matter how many times the Jets can be blunt about taking in Jet 4, there's so many draft gurus that have us with a cornerback at 4. Great point. It feels like they've really hinted at what they want to do with this draft. It feels like edge and wide receiver early just feels like where we're going, unless they trade for one, obviously. But if I'd be almost surprised if it's anything other than an edge rusher at pick 4. It just feels so obvious. I agree, V-Man. It does seem crazy. Another super chat, Matthew Lakers chimes in, says, a lot of wide receivers I like in this draft, but not a single one I like at the 10th overall, either trade down from 10 or back into the first to grab one. Yeah, I think we've had this conversation before. I don't agree with that, but like, let's say you want to go edge and Sauce Gardner at 10 if he's there, and then move up and take, move up from 25 and get a receiver after that, then okay. I think, there's a world where you can sell me on that, or even moving back and taking a receiver. Okay, you can sell me on that, but I have no issue with Garrett Wilson or Treylon Burks or even Drake London at pick 10. If that's the guy they believe in, whichever receiver that is, then I have no issue with them going there at pick 10. Hayden says, what's up, Matt? First stream of yours I've been able to make. Appreciate it. Welcome in, man. Try to do these on Sunday nights. We pushed it back to 8 o'clock because I was working earlier today. So very much so appreciate it. Joe, I'm glad you asked this question. What would be the most disappointing draft outcome? I'm going to play tease a little bit because tomorrow for Mock Draft Monday on the Patreon, I have a mock draft coming out where it'd be my least favorite scenario. And there will be a clip on the Matt O'Leary NY extra channel if you just want a little preview. But since you guys are so kind to tune in to this draft, I will give you one of those picks. And it would be the first pick at pick 4, going Kyle Hamilton, because I think value-wise, it doesn't make sense for this team. And I've expressed that before. I've seen this conversation at 10, and it's a little bit of a different conversation at pick 10 than it is at pick 4. But based on everything we've seen, with the need for a pass rusher and wide receiver super high at the top of the class, for them to go safety at pick 4 after taking Jamal Adams at 6th overall a few years ago, and after taking Calvin Pryor in 2014 in the first round, would seem like a poor allocation of resources to me. Or going with the interior rusher, like a Trayvon Walker, maybe at pick 4, I also would not be a fan of. But that's not in my mock, the Trayvon one. Did you see the Quay Walker news? He's rising and would be an intriguing second-round pick. I did not, but I am not opposed to looking more into that. Quay Walker's interesting to me. And then someone says, yeah, Quay Walker or Chad Muma are the linebackers I would want. I like Chad Muma a lot. Or even the linebacker from Alabama, Harris. Curly Norman says, Matt, your Islanders put the hex on my Rangers. They're getting shut out again. Oh, no. Listen, the Rangers are going to make the playoffs this year. Islanders more than likely aren't. So you have us there. And I will say Igor Shesterkin's a phenomenal goalie for the Rangers. Stephen T chimes in. Steven has a super chat. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. He also sent me a DM and a picture of him meeting Zach Wilson today, by the way. So shout out to Steven there. He says, met Zach Wilson today, humble and great dude. Said he's so excited for the season. I'd love a pre-draft wide receiver trade to open up best player available at 10 if they still have it. One, love to hear that Zach Wilson was genuinely humble and a great guy. I feel like the people who actually meet him tend to say that a lot, where it's the people who don't know him at all that try to bring up these spoiled and rich kid narratives, which again, just don't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like let's say if you were to use like pick 35 plus whatever to get a DK Metcalf, then you could take maybe Sauce Gardner at 10. Or if you really want to take Kyle Hamilton and you have to have him at 10, then it eases the blow a little bit, I guess. But you're right. Nobody is talking about Karlaftis or Alec Pierce. I think it's very likely that one or both will be a Jet. Interesting, Big Al. I would be surprised if either are, to be honest with you, but of the two, I really like George Karlaftis. So if he was the pick at 10, I'd probably be pretty happy. Brian says, can you please sell me on Wilson? He's never been a wide receiver one at Ohio State, no higher than second in receiving yards or touchdowns in any season. I don't like him as an X. Okay. I would look, instead of going more on the statistical side, which is fair. It's fair to have those concerns, but I really like his route running ability and I like the speed that he has. I don't think anyone expected him to run as fast as he did. And I think he has a high floor. To me, Drake London's boom or bust. For as much as I like Treylon Burks, I think can be a little bit boom or bust. With Jameson Williams, I think the injury could have him as a little bit of a boom or bust, but I think Garrett Wilson's route running ability, and I think he can win on the outside. I think a lot of people, they look at him and say, okay, he's more of a speed guy, not as big. I don't think he could win at the catch point. I don't agree. From what I've watched of him, I think he is aggressive enough at going up and getting the ball where I think he would be okay as an X. And also, I think the Jets want receivers who they can move around and not just lock into one position. I think they'll want someone, if they do draft a guy, to play all over the field, which Wilson and Drake London could do that, and Treylon Burks can too. So I don't know if that's going to be able to sell you on it or not, but that's the reasons why I like him, at least. Matt, do you think Jermaine Johnson will make it to pick 10 if we don't pick him at 4? I think it's going to be very close. The two teams that I worry about are Seattle, if they don't go quarterback, could absolutely go edge. And if the Falcons don't go wide receiver, they could absolutely go edge. It's a coin flip for me. People have also mocked him to the Giants, but to me, I feel like the Giants are going to go offensive line and then Sauce Gardner at pick 7. Just my personal opinion. But Jermaine Johnson's my edge 4, and I would think that there's 4 edges that are going to go in the top 10. So the chances of him being there at pick 10, I would say slim, but not impossible. Definitely not impossible. Elliot says, if KT is off the board, would you take your number 1 receiver at 4 to keep him away from the Falcons? That's interesting. And that's kind of the logic that I think Mike Tannenbaum was going with when he had the Jets mocked the Jets to take a receiver at 4. So let's say it's like Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau are off the board, and whoever else, Sauce or Icky or whatever. Maybe you do, and then you gamble and say, I'll take either Jermaine Johnson or Karlaftis or Trayvon Walker at pick 10. I would think that they would go with whatever edge they like the best at pick 4, but I don't hate this idea because right then you're getting your choice of the matter. It's interesting. It's you're not going to sell people on the value, but I really do understand where you're coming from. We have another super chat from John. Thank you very much. Is it a certainty DK is elite without a Hall of Fame quarterback? Russell Wilson? No, but I feel like you can make that case for a lot of good quarterback. Like, is Devontae Adams because of Aaron Rodgers? I would say no. DK is just he's a freak athlete. So I would say my answer to you would probably be no because of his freakish athletic profile. But I guess there's no way to know until we see it. I will say he still put up over 900 yards and double-digit touchdowns, and Geno Smith played 4 games for them. So maybe, but I don't. We're not going to know until next year, I guess. Buster says, "Do you like Tyler Algier from BYU?" I do really like him a lot, but I have mixed emotions about drafting him because I think it would be wise for the Jets to go with a bigger body running back to complement Coleman and Michael Carter, where Algier isn't that. He would fit this system, I think, and he obviously did play with Zach Wilson at BYU, but he's not exactly the profile of running back that I normally would be looking for, but he might be an exception to the rule. Matt, if we end up with the safety and a linebacker in the first round, good players but non-premium position, is that a mistake in your opinion? Yes. I would say yes, because I don't know how much of an impact that it's going to. Like, I don't think drafting Kyle Hamilton and then, like, let's say Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd is going to suddenly launch this team to where they're, back in prominence, where a top flight edge rusher or a top flight wide receiver would. I get it. Like, obviously, really good players. That's not a knock on either of those two guys. I personally wouldn't do it. We got another super chat. Thank you so much to Kyle. He says, Matt, just wants to say thanks for the great videos for me to watch on the train into the city. I see my $2 helped you get your internet running. Kyle, thank you very much. Appreciated. So it was a mix between the internet issues and my computer. So here's the deal. I am working off of my Mac computer right now, which is why I have the alternative angle on for the live streams. Originally, like, I will get it to where I can switch back and forth between the cameras like I was doing a few weeks ago. But I did order a new computer. That's not a work laptop. And it was supposed to be here this weekend, but it got pushed by a couple of weeks. So I'm going to get on the phone with Dell and complain a little bit. But I am getting a new computer too. And I really do appreciate the support from you guys. It means a lot. I love that I get to do this every single day, and I couldn't do it without you guys. I've made it pretty clear, but my ultimate goal is to be able to do content full time and do my Jets videos and podcast and social media full time. And your guys' support is what's going to get me there. So I just wanted to say I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys realize that because I try to show it. Thank you, Kyle. Means a lot. Which wide receiver do you prefer if the offer is identical, Metcalf or Brown? Oh, this is a really difficult question. I don't think you can go wrong either way. Reuniting AJ Brown and Elijah Moore would be sick. So I think that would be my answer. Like, DK would also be phenomenal because, again, he's a freak. But I think AJ Brown is probably the better, more well-rounded receiver. They're both young. They're both in their prime. So it's hard. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I would lean AJ Brown, but by no means would I be upset if DK Metcalf was the one. Matt, We reflect on the Adams pick as if it was a negative. He was an asset we invest in, and we got quarterback trade return for him. That pick was the best thing that happened to us in the last decade. I guess, but it didn't help. It didn't help in the short term. Vinster, I know you said after this that's a little sus, but I didn't take it like that. If you want, send me a DM on Twitter or Instagram, and we could talk. I appreciate it. Ildy, Matt, is that a fade? I see nice cut, G. I did finally get a haircut. My barber did me up pretty good. The sides look really good this time. He's a good dude. I appreciate him. Would you be disappointed if we got the best alignment at 4 and not an edge? I would. It's hard to say disappointed. It's because like you're trying to help your young quarterback, but I don't think it would be the best allocation of resources. I would say confused more than disappointed, but definitely confused. Do you think Seattle would do 435, 69 for 941 in DK? Ooh. Okay. Maybe my initial gut was no, but moving up to pick 4 and 35 from 9 and 41, maybe they do. That might be enough to make a difference. And they're getting a third. That's an outside the box offer. I haven't really seen one like that before. But maybe they do. Ooh, this is a hot button issue. Coke or Pepsi? So Coke is probably better, but so most of you guys know this, but I grew up a Mets fan and I still am a Mets fan. But at Shea Stadium and up until 2015, I believe, the Mets had Pepsi products at Shea and Citi Field. So anytime I would like in my regular life have a Pepsi, it would remind me of being at a Mets game. So for nostalgia reasons, I probably would go Pepsi because it makes me feel something. Where Coke is just Coke. It's good. I don't have an issue either. Like I'll drink either. I'm not like a hardcore like, oh my God, just Pepsi or oh my God, just Coke. But I like both for different reasons. And Kev is in on Pepsi. Pepsi for Coke has too much sugar. YouTube, how much sugar Coke has. I'm afraid to do that. But I do like Pepsi. And like Pepsi's an underdog. So maybe I'd go Pepsi, I guess. And then he comes back, Pepsi is such a Mets answer. Yeah, it's true. Greg asks, just watch the movie Draft Day. How close does it depict what really goes on, you think? Ooh. I don't know. I'm curious. Like, could you imagine just being a fly on the wall in those draft rooms? I would think it's probably pretty close. Not exact. I mean, there's even in like any kind of movies that's based on like real life, I feel like it's stretched. So a lot of it's probably like glamorized for Hollywood, but I think some aspects are pretty close. What else we got in here? Doesn't KT fit more of a 3-4 outside linebacker? It looks kind of small. Let me see if I could pull up his height and weight. I don't believe so, but let's see. He's 6'5", 258. That's what his Wikipedia says, but I'm clicking on his NFLdraft.com profile. We'll see if it reads the same. This is saying 6'4", 254. I don't No, I don't think so. Oh, chances we trade down at 4 as a percentage. I think unlikely. I would say 10% chance. I think there's a chance at pick 10. Actually, no, I'll say this. I think the most likely trade scenario would be the Jets trading back into the first round with their second round picks or a second in some of their package or some of their other picks. I put that as the most likely. Then number 2 would be trading back from pick 10. And then number 3 would be trading back from pick 4. Coke lovers are front runners. Love it. Not really Jets related, but coming from a Devils fan and a huge Corey fan, how nice is it to see him get the dub today? Yeah, quick Islanders thought, and then we'll get back to the draft stuff. It was cool. It was his first game in over 2 years, and he comes in and gets a win against his former team. That was really cool. And I know he had, I think it was a 900 save percentage, which isn't phenomenal, but he came up big in some key spots. Nico Hischier almost tied the game at the end, and he got a toe on it. So I thought he played pretty well, all things considered. So it was cool. And Kyle Palmieri scored against his old team. That was also pretty cool. Jake says, not supporting Sauce or Hamilton, period. Okay. I understand the Hamilton. The Sauce is not my preferred method to go with, but okay. That's a very hard stance. I would imagine that you would want to see an edge rusher, which I understand. Oh, and he comes back and says, okay, cornerback isn't priority in our D scheme. Okay. That makes sense. Ryan asked, do you think the Jets could land any more free agents? Possibly. I would think there's a chance that they do. I don't think it's going to be any like big name guys, but I think they could round out their roster, and more guys might be available as things go on. I asked this last year and got 4 out of 5, which reminds me are getting fired in order after 2022 draft. I'm thinking Carolina, Seattle, Indy, Washington, and Dallas are the 5 likeliest based on what we know. Ooh. Dallas, agree. Carolina and Seattle. Indy, Indy, no. Washington, possibly. Washington, actually, probably more than possibly with everything going on. They might want a fresh start there. So Seattle, I agree, definitely. But Indy is the one where I don't think you sold me on that one. I like Frank Reich. I think he's a good coach. How would you compare Jets to Giants? My diehard Giant friends refuse to believe the Jets have any talent. They are incorrect. They are incorrect. You could make the case the Giants are in a worse spot right now than the Jets are because they have little cap space and they don't have a quarterback. I don't think Daniel Jones is the answer. I do like Brian Daboll a lot, and I do think Joe Shane is going to be a good GM, or at least has the potential to be, but they still need some more teardown to do because Dave Gettleman was absolutely atrocious at his job. Thoughts on Brandon Cook's trade? Yeah, I think he's someone who flies a little bit under the radar. I think he's a little bit underrated, actually. He's pretty consistent, 1,000-yard receiver. He'd give you 6+ touchdowns a year. I think he's steady. And he's still somehow under 30 years old, which it feels like he's been in the league for a while. So I would prefer A.J. Brown or DK Metcalf, obviously. But if Brandon Cooks could be had for a reasonable cost, I would absolutely look into it. Then he goes on to say Brandon Cooks trade would need to be followed up with a second round receiver, I think. Okay. I don't know if I agree with that part. There's still some other needs that I would probably look to attack. I guess it depends on what you're giving up for him. But I would lean towards Noah taking a receiver in the second round if you trade for him. Bet we go after Honey Badger if we don't land a safety in the draft. Did he get signed? I guess he hasn't, but I thought he did. I don't know. I kind of lean. I hope they don't. Oh, good question, Lucas. Favorite piece of Jets memorabilia that I own? It's hanging up over there. I don't know if you could. No, it's out of the frame, but it is my signed Sean Ellis jersey. When I was about 10 or no, I guess 11 or 12. I was in middle school. And I met Sean Ellis at a restaurant. He was doing one of his appearances on like the Jets radio show they used to do on Monday nights. And he was one of my favorite players growing up. I loved Sean Ellis, and he was a really nice guy. And I got a picture with him, and he signed my jersey. Daniel Jones was at my school on Friday. That's unfortunate. No, I'm kidding. He's probably a very nice guy. He looks like, if there's anyone from Long Island in here, Daniel Jones, if you just look at his shoulder up, like his headshot, he looks like someone who would be like on the Chaminade lacrosse team. Chaminade is a Catholic school on Long Island, and he just looks like he went straight from Garden City High School to Chaminade. If you know, you know. And if you don't, just trust me on that. You have another super chat. We're going to go back to Brian. Thank you very much. He says, which event are you more prepared for, a Jets home playoff game or the zombie apocalypse? Dude, the Jets haven't had a home playoff game since 2002. I really wasn't quite into football yet at that point. 2003 is really the first year that I remember. That 2003 season was the first year that I remember. So I technically don't remember the last time the Jets had a home playoff game, which is nuts to me. But I guess the zombie apocalypse, because I don't know, what MetLife might burn to the ground if the Jets have another home playoff game. That's funny. Matt, you look like everyone who went to Xavier in Brooklyn. Oh boy. I don't like that. I know someone who went to Xavier. I don't know about Xavier in. I thought Xavier was in Manhattan. I could be wrong. That's no good. Is B2B 111079 a Chaminade guy? Maybe my grandfather went to Chaminade, so it can't be that much of I don't really hate them that much. Oh, in a good way. He says in a good way. Okay. Okay. I'll take it. Close. I went to Southside, class of 2013. Curly Norman says, I was lucky enough to be at that 2002 playoff game, was a young kid. That is insane. That's awesome. I would give up anything to be at a Jets playoff game. That'd be awesome. What an experience. Snowball, who's wearing 75 this year? Did AVT get to keep it since he had to move? I'm pretty sure he's keeping it. I didn't hear anything that he was giving up that number. I'd be surprised if they made him give up that number. Ryan goes to Southside. What up? Go Cyclones, baby. Is Coach Smith still the baseball coach? If so, tell him I said hello. I loved Coach Smith. He was the best. Budster says BYU center in round 5. Not opposed to taking developmental center in this year's draft class. That's not bad. Everyone's dropping in where they went to. Joe says Kellenberg 2019. Okay. I know a couple of people from Kellenberg. My girlfriend's brother was Kellenberg. 2020. And I don't live too far from Kellenberg. New York Blow, Central Jersey in the house. That's great. I don't hate New Jersey. I don't like this. I don't like the city. Like, you'll never catch me living in like Brooklyn or Manhattan. I'm a suburb guy. I'll probably stay on Long Island, but I'd rather move to like the suburbs in New Jersey than move to Manhattan, if that makes you feel any better. Big Daddy, what's your take on Chris Sims' wide receiver rankings? They're nowhere close to my rankings. He's a smart guy. I trust him a little bit more on his quarterback rankings than I do his wide receiver rankings, but yeah, I don't agree. I think they were kind of all over the place. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it was. I almost said clickbait, but I don't think it was clickbait. I think he actually believes it. You like Long Beach? Yes, I do like Long Beach. I do like Long Beach. Don't go out there very often, but my parents love Long Beach. They go to Mass in Long Beach every week, actually. Especially in the summer when they do Mass on the beach. They love that. Talking Jets with Tigo says, you think we can convince the Eagles to move up for 10? Trade would be 15 and 19 for 10 and 69. I think they do that. If they do, who do we take at 15 and 19, assuming edge at 4? I would say wide receiver and the linebacker. I would probably go wide receiver at 15 and then Nakobe Dean at 19, probably. Or maybe that's where you go Linderbaum. Lynchpin 924. Thoughts on Jets' current uniforms? Really not a fan. I like the previous ones a lot more. Maybe bring back the early to mid 90s Jets font for the helmets. Yeah, I like the 80s style a little bit more because I think the green is a little bit nicer. I don't like the really light green. Like, obviously, like I have here. Let me move that hanging up. So I do like that logo a ton, but I like more of the 80s coloring on it. So I'd prefer that. I don't hate the Jets' current uniforms. I think it's nice. I hate the green pants. Like, I think they should either just go the green on the white. The white on the white's my favorite, and the blacks are really nice too. But I don't like the white on green or the green on green. It's gross. How do you feel about Bryce Hall? Do you feel he should secure their number 2 corner spot? Yes, I think he played well enough to be a number 2 corner. I think it should be him and Reed as a starting 2 outside corners. I like Bryce Hall a lot. Oh, here we go. Another Southsider in the class of 96. Pretty sure we didn't have any same teachers. That's interesting. 96. I might have had some cousins around that time graduate around that time. I'd have to ask my dad. He would know better, but I have a really big family, so it's entirely possible. The Chalices. Brian's back. I very much so appreciate it. He says, I am beginning a new job in 12 hours and want to thank you for helping to keep me sane when the Jets did their best to kill me the last few years. I hope we find the best life as this team opens a new chapter. Brian, I really, really appreciate the super chat. I appreciate the kind words. Good luck at the new job. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to continue to make content and put it out there. I love it. I love what I do every single day. I truly, truly mean that. And I really hope that you have this awesome time at this new job. Really wish you all the best, Brian. Appreciate it. Do you remember any of your teachers? Yes. Who did I have that I really liked? Mano, the business guy. I don't know what his real last name is, but everyone called him Mano. DiPietro or DiPietro, the gym teacher. Who else did I have? I know this is really boring for you guys, but we're gonna do a little South Side reunion in here for a second. Mrs. O'Brien, the English teacher, I loved her. She wrote a letter of recommendation for me. I almost said something with an M, a history teacher. It's almost like Machado, but it's not. It's damn it. I wish I could remember his name. Mr. Junkins, I wasn't really the biggest fan. Please don't tell him. Yeah, those are the ones that stick out. Mano, I loved. Miss O'Brien, I absolutely loved. So yeah, it's pretty much turned into a reunion show. They found out what high school I went to, and now there's people in the chat who also went there. So it's turning into one. Stephen T says, thoughts on Stingley? Not for us specifically, just in general. Risky. Very risky. So the 2019 tape is phenomenal with him, but he hasn't really played a lot the last 2 years. And that scares me. And his injury is like, that's the one that ended Santonio Holmes' career. He has a ton of upside, and he's going to go in the first round, obviously. But it would really scare me taking him in the top 10. I think you'd have to be a team where like you have talent or you're a general manager who could get away with taking a little bit of a risk. It's a really big swing. It could be a really big boom or a really big bust. He's definitely he's my number 2. Number 2 corner in this class, but yeah, there you go. Your cousin Harry Shall is crazy. Yeah, Harry is my cousin. That's so sick. I love that. We got a Hoosier Jets fan in the house. At what point do we get Garoppolo playing in his old system to Miami? Just more reason to get edge and keep hitting them like Coach Middleton said. Or to MIA, I guess. Yeah, just keep getting after that passer, man. I agree. I think that's the most important thing that you can do is just continue to get after the passer. Heard about? No, I have not. I don't know what this is. Jets, trash. Miguel, you're trash. How about that? Thank you for coming in. I have time for a few more. I'm staying a little bit longer because I came on late today. That's my bad. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Stingley have the same injury as Etienne? It's the Liz Frank. What did Etienne have? I don't remember what Etienne have. Let me look. I'm going to look up on my phone right now. He had. Yeah, he did. He did have a Liz Frank. You're right. Shagging these nuts. That's funny. Jake Eisman had an ex-GM on his Houston show, says Kyle Hamilton would go to Detroit. Do you think that's going to happen? I do think it's possible. I really do. I think they're definitely going to go on the defensive side of the ball. I think they've invested kind of heavily in the offense recently. I think they either go edge or Kyle Hamilton. I don't think that's crazy. I think that's completely fair. Do you think the Jets should take Walker or Robinson to have a big back to pair with Walker? I'm confused. Is there a Oh. Do you think that here we go? Do you think the Jets should take Brian Robinson or Kenneth Walker later in the draft? I think they need another big back. Brian Robinson, yeah. I think that's Hassan Haskins is another one. Just someone on day 3. I think you could do that. This is a GOAT comment. I stopped wiping my ass a few weeks ago because I don't let shit bother me. Good for you, dude. If he somehow made it to Baltimore, I think that'd be a perfect spot for him. But I think he ends up coming off the board to Minnesota. That would be my guess. Oh, love. Let's go, Jets. Love it, dude. Ooh, good question from Snowball. Which team drafts a quarterback first? I'll say Seattle. All right, we have time for one more. And I will do this one. What kind of season statistically do you think Zach will have, considering if we only add one wide receiver type player? I would hope for something like 17 games, obviously, but let's call it like at minimum, absolute minimum, hopefully more than this, but at minimum 3,800 yards, 25 passing touchdowns, 10 picks, something like that. I would hope for more, obviously. But I think you just need to start getting to like serviceable quarterback numbers. With 17 games, he should be pushing towards 4,000 yards. He should be pushing towards 25 plus passing touchdowns. Hopefully he adds more in the rushing because I really like that stretch last year where he was running the ball a little bit more. And yeah, we'll go from there. So that's going to do it for me. Sorry, Lou. That's all I have time for today. I have to, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but now I have to jump over and record Just Jets. New episode comes out tomorrow. We got Mock Draft Monday coming out tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe here if you're new. I'm Matt O'Leary. I'll be back next Sunday. I'll talk to you next time.